Hey there, welcome to this week's Childproof Parenting Live. I'm Melissa Benaroya and I'm so glad that you've chosen to show up today and be part of the conversation. I'm talking today about how we talk to kids about tough topics. There's a lot going on in our world right now. There's a lot of pain and sadness and violence and frustration and divisiveness. And it affects all of us and affects us in different ways. And whether we know it or not, subconsciously, it affects how we parent and how we respond to our kids. And obviously not everybody watching lives here in the United States, but it's extremely stressful living here in the United States. So I wanted to just talk today a little bit about what we can do and what we can say and how we have conversations with our kids so that way we can help them. I know that you want to be there to support your child, and we want to shield our kids from some of the ugliness and the sadness that exists in our world, but we cannot fully protect them. They're going to see things, they're going to hear things, and it's so important that when they learn about these things, they learn it from you, and they're not learning it because they heard somebody talking about it in Starbucks or a friend of theirs is telling them and interpreting the news for them. So I really want to encourage you to talk to your kids about the events that are going on in our world. Sorry, I gotta tap that there. So first I want to acknowledge that the way kids process information and news is very different than the way you and I process it. Many times it becomes personal and they start to relate what they're hearing to their own lives. And many times there's fear and anxiety. So what I would say is, to start off, you want to find out first what it is your child knows. So if something's coming up, you're noticing their behavior, they're sharing that they're scared or they're worried, ask them what they know. What have you seen? What have you heard? Just as a starting place, because they may know very little and the facts may be very wrong. And so it kind of gives you a starting place of knowing where to begin with your child. Once they share with you what it is they know or what they've heard or what they've seen, then you want to ask some follow-up questions like, well, what do you think happened? Or why do you think that happened? Or what do you think we should do to help those people? We're not going to go into a lot of detail, especially with younger kids, but we want to follow up and ask some additional questions about what they know, how that may be affecting them, and what they think they can do. Third thing I want to talk about is it's so important that we just listen and acknowledge. Many times we know the stuff they're hearing is crazy and we want to correct them right away and we want to fill in the blanks or we want to protect them from some of these things that they've heard. But it's so powerful just to stop and listen and let your child feel heard and acknowledged, because they may be feeling worried, they may be scared. So it's important that you listen and you acknowledge them and you remind them that you are doing things to protect them and keep them safe, that some of these things are happening in other places. They may have heard about the hurricanes. And what they don't know, especially when they're young, is that it's not happening maybe in your part of the country or the world. So helping them understand some of the logistics and some of the basics about what it is they're hearing and what they're seeing. So acknowledging and listening, and then offering reassurance, letting them know that, we do everything to keep each other safe. We lock our door at night, or we live in a part of the country where hurricanes aren't an issue, or I always know where you are, so I'm not so worried about you. That's why we have our system of call me when you get there, whatever it is. Just reassuring them that you are aware and that you are taking precautions to keep them safe. And it's important to acknowledge that different kids at different ages process things differently. So Obviously, we're not going to give all the nitty-gritty details about it. I think we can give just kind of a general blanket explanation of things, keeping things light when kids are really young, and acknowledging that like before 4 years old, they really have no concept of what's going on. They may hear things and repeat things, but they really don't understand it. So being very vague as kids, when kids are young, and as kids get older, going into more detail and helping them understand the events and how it affects their lives and what they can do in certain situations. Many times, unfortunately, these bad occurrences and these negative situations help parents prepare and think about what we need to talk about with our kids, or how do we prepare our kids, or how are we going to communicate with our kids when there's an emergency. So I think there's a few things to think about, but being mindful that we don't want to go in and just read a news story to our kids or tell them all the details, that we want to start where they're at and ask what they know, what they've heard, then provide some detail, but only after we've stopped and listened and acknowledged what they're hearing, or who may have shared it, or how they may be feeling. And then after we listen and acknowledge and we empathize, we offer that reassurance. We give them details around how we're aware of these things, what we're doing to protect them and to keep them safe. So I included this week a list of resources for you to broach several different topics with kids. There's a lot going on. And I want to encourage you again to start having these conversations with your kids now. Don't wait till they've heard what's going on in the news for a week and then jump in. I think empowering them with knowledge is really powerful, and we can prevent some of the stress and strain they may experience when they hear this information from somebody else or see it from somebody else. So please, 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 please make sure they hear these things from you, because it's much better they hear it from you than somebody else. So I want to make sure that I answer any questions you may have this week about talking to kids about tough topics, and there's a whole range of tough topics that are possible, and I'd love to provide you more resources. So if you aren't on my mailing list, I want to make sure you get those resources. So feel free to reach out to me at melissa@childproofparenting.com, and I will send you the links to these really invaluable resources to give you some idea of how to have conversations, some language to use when having conversations, and what to think about at different ages and stages, and what is appropriate to discuss with really young kids and then much older kids. So it's really important that we're thoughtful and we don't just jump in and blurt stuff out, because that may be more damaging than them hearing it somewhere else. So anyways, I wanted to make sure I'm here to provide you some structure, some framework to have these conversations. Once again, I have lots of resources, and if you didn't get it in my email this week, you're not on my mailing list, please feel free to reach out to me directly, or you can leave a comment in this post and I'll make sure I send those links to you. But you are also welcome to sign up for my mailing list. So I generally send something out once a week, every other week, so you're not going to be inundated. If you go to childproofparenting.com, that's all one word, childproofparenting.com, you can sign up to get lots of information. I have a free email course. I have lots of great downloads that are great tips, tricks, and tools to inviting your child's cooperation, building the relationship that you want with your child. So please check it out. As soon as you sign up for any of the downloads or the free course, you and I are then going to be in communication, and you'll get additional information from me. So one thing I also want to make sure I mentioned, because it's starting really soon, Monday, is my last parenting boot camp of the year. This is a free boot camp. If you feel like you need a little bit of a tune-up, or things are getting stressful, or maybe you're noticing yourself feeling a little more. And remember, many of our behavior is influenced by our environment. So a lot of this challenge, a lot of this stress in our environment is influencing our behavior as parents, but also acknowledge that it's influencing our child's behavior as well, because emotions are contagious. So if you want a little bit of support, I've got a 5-day boot camp coming up. We launch on Monday, October 9th, and I'd love for you to join me. It's free. I'm actually launching it for another group, but I want to invite you to join us as well. Once again, it's the last one of the year. I'll make sure I post below in the comments the link to it so you can sign up and get all of that good information, all of the emails, and you can join us on Facebook Lives next week. We have a boot camp, Facebook Live every day as well. So I'd love for you to join me there. And once again, if you have questions, please send them my way. And it may not be related to this topic, but that's okay because I take your questions and I create blog posts and I do Facebook Live. So I want to make sure that you feel supported and that I'm here for you. All right, have a fantastic weekend, everybody. I hope you have some time to just chill with your kids and relax and kind of disconnect. So I will be back next Friday, Childproof Parenting Live, and hopefully I will see you in boot camp as well. All right, take care. Bye-bye.